Hey, I'm Kat.
I'm Hayley.
And this is Night Classy, a podcast where two teachers unwind, sip wine, and discuss the topics they wish they could teach at school. So, what are we drinking?
Today, we are starting out with the brand of wine is called 19 Crimes. And it is a red wine from southeastern Australia. This is a cool little thing. They have like an app that you can download, and on the front cover of the wine, it has convicts. Then you can download and hear like their story, the story of the convict behind it. So we'll look into that later, not now.
Later.
Okay. But that's what we're drinking.
Yeah.
And then following it up with, what do you have?
I mean, I have a funny anecdote about 19 Crimes.
You do?
Yeah, my dramatic ass once brought it to a Tinder date because I thought it would be like funny if I got murdered by my Tinder date that like the last thing she drank was 19 Crimes. And I told him that, and he was a really not that cool, but I mean he's fine, but like we didn't really share the same sense of humor, and he was like, like he didn't think it was funny.
That would be a great test. Like that's the test you take on every Tinder date you go on. It's like, right. I'm gonna bring 19 Crimes, and if they joke along, then I know that this will work out well because I think it's funny, they think it's funny.
Right. I thought I was hilarious, and he didn't think so.
I think that's
but we
hilarious.
Still hooked up, so I guess it still worked out.
Maybe he didn't think it was hilarious because I
thought he was a murderer.
Yeah.
That's
that could
possible.
do it.
Yeah, that might do it. No one's ever accused me of being a murderer, so I don't know what it's like. But I think it would be funny.
Every guy that I've ever actually gone on a date with on Tinder, like they'll ask me out, and every single guy, this is what I say. I'm like, if you promise not to murder me.
Right. I feel like it's a trope at this point. I don't think he was offended. I think he just didn't think I'm funny.
He's just dumb.
Yeah. Yeah. He's not listening. Yeah, he's dumb.
Yeah, he's a dumb one.
Okay, cool. So we feel a little weird right now. I don't know when this will be released, but we're recording in the midst of the coronavirus outbreak. So our school district was shut down. This is the first day we've had officially off, and it's been kind of crazy around here. We don't know where this crisis is going to be once this episode is released. And I mean, it's kind of nice to have time off, but also we realize the seriousness of the situation, and we just hope that everyone's okay by the time this comes out. And
yeah. I think our district, I got to give them a shout out for the way that they've handled it. They've already set up plans to make sure the children who are going to be out of school right now, they've just canceled school for a week. So in addition to our spring break, we have an extra week that we're not going to be in school, but they've already set up plans so that the children and students of our district can have food. They can go pick up food from, whatever schools are giving them out and things like that. So I think that they've handled that really well.
Right.
But we don't really know what's going to happen from here.
We don't. And it's also kind of upsetting because, so I know that in some districts they're having teachers do online school sessions so kids can still learn. But in our district, I mean, there are so many low income kids and homeless kids that a lot of them don't have internet access. So there's no way to enforce that they're getting any kind of learning over this. I don't really know what to call it. Shutdown, I suppose. So things are starting to get kind of scary, and we're dealing with it the best we can. Yeah.
We hope if you're listening, you're not affected. And if you are, we hope that things are getting better. But just remember, wash your hands. If you need to be quarantined,
right? Wash your hands. Don't buy all the toilet paper. Leave some for people who need it. Same goes for food. And yeah, so moving on.
Yeah,
I'm ready to move on. I'm done talking about all this darkness, but I have a few updates. So our Instagram is starting to take off. If you haven't already, please follow us on Instagram at Night Classy. We're working hard to post a lot of good content for you, and please slide into our DMs. If the highlight of my day is when people DM me. So
talk to us. We want to hear who's hearing us.
Exactly. Please talk to us. Please, if you have any episode suggestions that you'd like to hear, I would love to hear them. I run the Instagram, so if you have a topic for me, send it to Instagram, and Hayley runs the Twitter. So if you have a topic for Hayley, send it to Twitter if possible. We also have an email at nightclassypod@gmail.com. So you can send things over that way. And while I'm on the topic of social media, I want to take a moment to plug our Patreon.
Yes, plug it. Plug it in.
Please. So we've put off talking about Patreon for a while. We feel really bad asking for money because we truly love making this podcast and believe that entertainment like this should be free, but unfortunately creating it is not free. We have to pay to keep it on streaming services. It takes up a massive amount of time. And while Alec has been super generous helping us out, he also runs his own recording business and his time is limited. And also we have to Uber here because we get drunk.
It's for the fans. We get drunk for you guys.
We get drunk for the fans. And ultimately, like, eventually we would love to hire an editor to help Alec out a little bit, but we're on beginning teacher salaries, so that's not really feasible at the moment.
Yeah, in case you didn't know, teachers are underpaid.
Right.
And overworked.
Newsflash. So anyway, if you enjoy the podcast and you can, please consider going on patreon.com and becoming a monthly donor to Night Classy. You can donate as much or as little as you want. It's a monthly donation. Eventually, we would love to bring extra content to our fans, maybe send them stickers or some other kind of merch, possible social media shout outs or podcast shout outs. We're not entirely sure yet. We're still pretty new, but there will definitely be some kind of perk. And we just really appreciate it and would be so grateful.
Thanks in advance, because I know we're going to have a ton of Patreons flooding in.
Hopefully.
Come on, confidence.
I know. Please, like, I've never groveled for money, but please.
We're going to make it worth your while.
We're going to make it worth your while. And anyway, are we ready to begin?
Most definitely. I have the breathalyzer here. Let me turn it on. Let's see what it gives us. Because as you guys know, this thing is a little finicky. So I'm going to press it again. It's going to give me the countdown. All right, we have 15 seconds. I'll go first and then I'll give it to you.
All right.
And just whatever it says, I guess we'll listen to it because that's the rule.
That's the rule.
Rules are made to be followed.
Follow the rules or I'm calling your mom.
Or I'm calling the police.
Yikes.
All right. What do we got? 0.11.
Okay.
0.11. All right.
Cool.
Here
My turn.
It for you.
I like how you swapped out the breathing part, even though they're all dirty.
Right, but remember they're all dirty. I haven't cleaned them yet. If we don't get corona, we're getting something because they've been sitting in that bag.
Yeah. The clap.
That's how you get it right. Blowing on mouthpieces.
That's what I thought.
I don't know. I'll have to Google it.
I blew a 0.07. So
all right.
Hayley,
I guess I'm going. All right, here we go. So I want to talk about 19 Crimes.
Like the wine company or
like the history behind it.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why I was like, I brought wine. And you're like, no, I brought wine.
Yeah. Because I couldn't talk about it and not have it here with us and have it be what we're drinking. So 19 Crimes. Let's dive in.
We are not sponsored by 19 Crimes.
We're not. I just thought it was cool. The reason why I chose this topic is because I feel like it really kind of matches what we're doing, mixing wine/alcohol and learning about things, because there's a lot of history behind this brand and what has gone into these wines. I didn't focus so much on like their company. I focused on like the actual history behind it. Cool. So I'm going to set the scene here. Okay. So this takes place in the 18th century and it starts all in Britain. In England. So crime was wild. Jails were overflowing with people. They didn't have enough space for everyone. And as you can imagine, conditions were miserable. And according to Wikipedia, population had been on a steady rise since about 1740. This all starts around like in the 1760s. So it had been rising since 1740. And at the time of the American Revolution, London, like I said, was super overpopulated. People were underemployed. And I quote from Wikipedia, they said they were flooded with cheap gin. Okay, so
that's how you want to be.
You can imagine the mixture that you get with poverty, child labor, harsh and dirty living conditions, and long working hours. Not a place you want to be.
I mean, by the time this podcast episode comes out, maybe that's where this country will be with the coronavirus.
So in 200, 300 years from now, they'll have a wine that's 19 Crimes 2020 version. 19 Crimes, the movie 2000. But anyway, they were really concerned about what to do with all the criminals in these jails. And so they were like, you know what? Why don't we just send them to our British colony of Australia? It's terrible there.
Love that.
It's literally terrible there. Everything is dangerous. You've got kangaroos attacking people. Have you seen a kangaroo attack someone?
Oh my God, yes, I have. They're so scary. Also, they look terrifying. Like they have like muscles and biceps
jacked.
and abs like human beings.
Yeah,
they're
fucking
so scary.
jacked. And it's hot and everything wants to kill you. So they're like, let's send all these criminals there. And so they do that. So Australia, before this British colonization, and this is from australianstogether.org, there were more than 500 indigenous groups that inhabited Australia, and there were an estimated 750,000 people in all. Now, after this colonization, the population of indigenous people in Australia is estimated to have dropped by 90%.
Oh my God. Okay.
So that's...
We're sorry.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, I'm not British, but I'm still sorry.
I'm sorry for it. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So that was within the 10 years following the first fleet of these convicts in 1788, and that was due to introduction of new illnesses, settler acquisition of their lands, and then direct violent conflict with these indigenous people,
as comes with white people in most cases. We
don't know this story.
A familiar tale.
Yes. So I want to look more into how people, what they decided, who they decided to send, and why. So this is all from the Wikipedia, not all of it, but this next part is from the Wikipedia page, Convicts in Australia. James Cook is the first person who went to Australia, and he charted it in 1770 and then claimed it for Britain as their land, as you do when your name is James Cook. And then the first fleet to Australia set off in 1787, and that contained 11 convicts, and their destination was Botany Bay, which later became Sydney, Australia. And that was the first settlement in Australia. So overall, over these about 100 years or so of them sending convicts to Australia, 1 in 7 of them were women. And a lot of them just stayed in Australia after they were released. So for the convict colonies, you have New South Wales, Norfolk Island, Tasmania, Victoria, Queensland, Western Australia. And obviously on these colonies, they had to work. It's penal. Punishment.
Erectile.
It is punishment, transportive punishment. And according to digital panopticon.org, they took a census in 1828. So a little over halfway through this whole penal. About halfway through.
Penile.
They all rode to Australia on a giant penis, and everything was great.
Yay.
They were doing things like they were servants, farm people, plowmen, shoemakers, shepherds, stockmen, and wives. That's what they put on the website.
And wives.
Yeah, and wives. But there were 19 basic crimes that could get you a one-way ticket to Australia. And so what's cool about this wine is that they have actual photos of some of these convicts, and you can scan it with their app and it'll tell you a little story. And then on the cork, it'll tell you one of the crimes. So we got number 17. And that crime is watermen carrying too many passengers on the Thames.
Oh,
if
my God.
any drowned.
Okay.
Only if they drowned.
That's fair. I take it back.
Yeah. So if you don't know, the Thames is a river that flows through southern England.
I think it's called the Thames.
Thames. Oh, nice. Nice. Phonics. But yeah, you would get a one-way ticket to Australia where you would live probably until you died. Because how else are you really going to get back if
How
you're
else
just
are you
dropped
really
off?
going to live?
Right.
Until you died.
So that was number 17, but I just want to tell you about all the other ones.
Yes. I can't wait. I'm literally like fidgeting because I'm so excited.
I'm excited too. Some of them have some extra tidbits that I have, and some of them don't. I'm on page 2 going into page 3 out of 7 notes. So I'm going to try and like go through this pretty quick.
Cool.
But the first one is grand larceny, any theft above the value of 1 shilling. It was really difficult for me to find to translate 1 shilling then to like what that would be right now, because like a shilling is like originates in Africa, and they were also using pounds in Britain then, and that's just all they say is that like the value of 1 shilling.
Okay.
So from what I am guesstimating, it seems like it would be anything above $100 or more.
That
which
makes
like
sense.
Right now we're like $100. Like, is that grand larceny? But like you're thinking back to like the 1780s.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of money.
Right.
And then the second one is petty larceny. So any theft under 1 shilling.
You'd think they would just combine it and make it larceny.
Theft. Yeah.
Just general larceny.
If you steal, you're going.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Yeah. So that's 1 and 2. Number 3 is buying or receiving stolen goods, jewels, plates, things of that nature.
Okay.
Number 4 was stealing lead, iron, or copper, buying or receiving, which also I don't know why that wasn't included.
Yeah, it seems like they just wanted to take their time and make maybe 19 crimes just had a catchier sound than 17 crimes.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe there were actually like specific laws that outline that they added on. We're like, we need to be more specific.
Yeah,
maybe
I'm sure
like
that's what it was.
Yeah. Number 5 is impersonating an Egyptian.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, so that's what I was like. And they also, on the 19 Crimes like wine website, they outline it, or they list them off. They don't really outline it. So I was like, I don't know what this means. Impersonating an Egyptian. So obviously I had to look into it. Mm-hmm. The real crime was purposely deceiving people while impersonating a gypsy, if you will.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. It was also illegal to be seen with one of these people, and they're referred to as Egyptians because they just thought that they came from Egypt.
Okay, so when they're talking about gypsies, does that mean like they're impersonating a gypsy to like sell you exotic things in this case? What? I'm just so confused.
None of my research revealed anything like really specific about the actions, but if they thought you were, and what they were called was a wandering people.
Okay.
Or a wandering person.
So is that being a gypsy is illegal, or is that like pretending to be a gypsy is illegal?
That's a really good question. Probably both.
Okay.
So yeah, that one was super interesting to me.
That is interesting.
Didn't quite get it. Number 6 is stealing from furnished lodgings.
Okay.
So like if you went to a hotel and stole their curtains, you'd be shipped off to Australia.
Wow.
Number 7 is setting fire to underwood. I wasn't really sure what underwood was. It's an old English word for undergrowth in a forest.
Okay, so if you're like doing arson in a forest,
I guess,
or like your own land, and like maybe trying to like do burn and
you can't like
burn agriculture
or anything. And that actually connects to one of the next ones, which I'll get to in like a couple of them. Number 8 is stealing letters, advancing the postage, and secreting the money, or like hiding money. Number 9 is assault with intent to rob. Makes sense. Number 10, stealing fish from a pond or river. AKA poaching.
Yeah.
So you couldn't hunt on land unless you had permission to in the eyes of the government. And then the one, number 11, connects to the one I think about setting fire to the underwood, is that you can't steal roots, trees, plants, or destroy them.
Okay.
So there's like a much bigger picture than this within the law, which makes sense, actually. It's kind of smart. The idea here is that there are long-term effects to cutting down trees and damaging plants.
Yeah.
And that the injury to the owner or the farmer is much, or even the general public is much greater than what it would seem on the surface.
Yeah.
So they were really strict about that.
That's fair. I don't know. Maybe it's my own ignorance, but I don't really see the 1700s as having like that much environmental foresight. To me, it sounds like rich people not wanting poor people that are starving to take things off their land to survive. But let's call it environmental protection. That sounds way nicer.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. You're right. And I have a direct quote from a judge. So let me know how you interpret this. And this is in 1821. So about 40 years, no, more than 40. About 50 to 60 years after they started sending people off to Australia. Cutting down young trees from malice to the owner is as great a proof of malignity in the criminal and may be a much greater injury to the owner. The loss of trees is irreplaceable both to the owner and to the public. So I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think it's, they're talking about how bad of a person would have to cut down a tree and how,
Yeah, I mean, it's partially fair, but also, Yeah,
I know. So they sent people away from that. This was also kind of overlapped a little bit with a potato famine. It was really common to steal plants and animals in Ireland. So they kind of like shut that down.
Yeah, so the British people are taking everything from the Irish. And when the Irish people need to eat to survive, they send them to Australia. Cool. Cool.
Yeah. Number 12. Are we ready?
Yes.
Bigamy. The act of going through a marriage ceremony while already married to another person, according to the Oxford Dictionary.
Send them to Ireland.
Australia. Wherever they need to go, send them, because they're not allowed here.
Away from England.
You bigot. So this was really common. Because of marriage rules and laws. They were a lot back then.
I'm sure, because it was probably really hard to divorce.
Super.
So you could be like separated and like basically divorced in your mind.
Not in the eyes of the church.
Yeah.
AKA the government. Mm-hmm. So the Marriage Act of 1753 in England and Wales, they had a few requirements for a valid marriage. Number one, it must be performed in a church. And number two, after, you had to either publicize that you're married or you have to get a marriage license, and that made you official. Now, according to parliament.uk, before the 19th century, the only way to get a divorce was to engage in a private act of parliament.
What does that mean?
It basically means that only rich people could do it and afford the process, and divorces were granted only for adultery.
Great.
Wives could not initiate a divorce unless it was a case of both adultery and life-threatening abuse.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah.
1700s England sounds like the place to be.
If you're into that kind of thing,
you know?
If you're a sub, go do it.
If you're a sub. Does it have to be consensual life-threatening? Just kidding.
Right. So basically a lot of people ended up committing bigamy.
I'm sure.
As you would.
Yeah.
Number 13, you would get sent off to Australia for assaulting, cutting, or burning clothes.
What?
Yeah.
So
honestly,
no Daisy Dukes.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a big no-no back then.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, you belong in Australia if you make dates. That was a terrible joke. I'm not even going to finish it.
Moving on. You would be in big trouble if you counterfeited the copper coin. And then number 15, I don't honestly know how to pronounce this, and this might just be stupid, which is quite possible. Clandestine marriage? Clandestine marriage.
I think, right?
Clandestine.
Okay. Sounds like a disease.
You're right. I don't think
Clandestine.
Yeah, clandestine. I don't think I've ever heard it. I feel like I've only ever read that word.
Yeah, I wanted just to be sure what it was. So if you don't know exactly what it is, like I didn't know exactly what it is, according to uslegal.com, it is a marriage means, or clandestine marriage means that the marriage entered in secret through agreement between the two parties. So it's usually all done in secrets. Nobody knows about it. The person marrying the two people is unauthorized.
Okay.
So they were like really into people's personal
Yeah,
lives.
they really cared about marriage.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's like it's holy or something. I also wonder how people got convicted of these types of things. Like, how do you prove that?
Right. I mean, I feel like it's almost like you could not like someone and be like, oh, they had a clandestine marriage.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
It's just he said, she said.
Right.
Number 16 is one of my favorite ones. Stealing a shroud out of a grave.
Ooh.
So I was like, what the fuck is a shroud?
Yeah.
So according to Oxford Dictionary, it's a cloth that someone is buried in.
You would steal, like, to me, like, I knew what a shroud was, but I was like, I assumed that meaning would take on like encompass all grave stealing, but no, it's like just if you take that fabric.
Actually, that's exactly the question that I was wondering. I was like, why would somebody want to steal it?
Yeah.
So on a post on everything2.com, the shroud did not hold actual value,
Okay.
but the cadavers did. So there were a lot of physicians practicing, and they would try and take bodies from the grave to dissect them.
Yeah.
So a body isn't considered property, so they couldn't actually make a law for some reason. I mean, it seems like they're making a lot of laws, so they should just be able to be like, don't steal the cadavers.
Yeah.
But it couldn't be stolen, so they couldn't outlaw the actual problem. So they just made it legal to steal shrouds. Because
what if you left the shroud behind and took the body?
you know, you'd probably would end up not in Australia.
Loophole. Let's go back in time and start a business.
Yes, please. And in 1814, they actually enforced it by law that everyone had to have a shroud.
For this reason.
Yeah, for this reason.
And it had to be stapled to your body.
Yes, to your dead body. Yeah. So that was number 16. Number 17 is watermen carrying around too many passengers on, what is it? The Thames? The
Thames.
We already talked about that one. Number 18 is incorrigible rogues who broke out of prison and persons reprieved from capital punishment.
Okay.
And then the interesting fact that on the 19 Crimes like wine website that they had is that an incorrigible rogue is also anyone that was previously convicted as a rogue or vagabond and resist apprehension. So if you're just bulling, if you're bulling and you're a criminal, you're going to Australia. Now, I want to be that upset, in current times, going to Australia, have a nice little vacation. But back then it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Pretty bad.
I mean, it sounds like England, though, is also pretty shitty.
It was. I think all around it was just shitty. I think Australia was probably pretty good before they started colonizing it. It seemed pretty nice.
Probably better than England.
Probably. Yeah. Warmer.
Right. I mean,
sunshine.
Yeah. Most of the world that was run by a monarchy was probably pretty shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then number 19, embuling naval stores.
What is that?
Actually, this is the one that I forgot to look up. So let me see what it says on the website.
We could make up a definition.
What do you think it is?
Embuling naval stores
or embuling?
Probably if you had access to the naval stores, where they store ammo and food, maybe taking it.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Let me see. The website says naval stores are all products derived from pine sap, which are used to manufacture soap, paint, varnish, shoe polish, linoleum, and roofing materials.
So there was a specific law. I assume it has something to do with stealing or damaging sap factories.
Yeah. Oh, it's a fancy way of saying that someone stole the resin products in the production of sailing vessels.
Okay.
And that is from...
That makes sense. That's why Navy is part of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Britain's Navy was the best in the world at the time. Okay.
Yeah.
And they were using it for colonization and all this. So yeah, it was probably really valuable.
That breakdown is from Life's a Beach blog by Jane Ormerod.
Okay.
And you can find that at Jane, JaYaneOrmerod.blogspot.com.
I'm going there right now.
Okay. Well, I'm already there. I can send you the link. Cool. But those were the 19 crimes that would get you sent to Australia. As you can see, a lot of them are like pretty low key.
Yeah.
Crimes like rape and murder were punishable by death, so they just killed him.
Yeah, it doesn't even count.
Yeah. It doesn't even count. You don't apply here. So
you're like, sweet, thank God someone's killing me because living here fucking sucks.
Yeah, sweet escape. I can't even commit suicide because it's a sin.
My husband beats me to the brink of death every night, but since it's not life-threatening, I just have to chill here.
Yeah. I wonder if anybody just wanted to go to Australia and just like stole something.
I mean, maybe. Honestly, I would.
Well, approximately 160,000 convicts were sent to Australia.
Yeah.
Between 1787 and 1868. Now, according to Ancestry.com, current day, 20% of Australians are descendants of convicts.
I feel like it should be more than that.
Doesn't it seem that way? Because the population dropped with indigenous
so there's
people.
not a lot of indigenous people. So after they were sending convicts there, did people just start to go there on their own to settle it?
I don't know. That's a good question. I didn't really look into that. I focused more on like the convict side of everything.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, if only 20% are related to convicts, then probably like, I feel like I vaguely remember this from either another podcast or a history class I took a long time ago. Like it was actually became like kind of nice, like, cause after convicts started settling there and then other people went too. So
it did. Yeah. It was like, I mean, the indigenous people probably weren't glad, but it did. It did turn into, what it is today. And Australia seems pretty nice when it's not on fire.
Seems okay.
Yeah. So a lot of people were sent there. Now, like BBC estimates that 25% of the people died on the voyage to Australia.
25%? Oh my God.
Yeah, it's a lot of people. And then I just wanted to see like how many people would actually be missing if present day they were sent there. So the closest city that I could find in my quick search was like Knoxville has a population of about 180,000. So like if we just moved all the people in Knoxville to a different place, that's what it would be like.
But I mean, also not, because the United States population is so much huger than what Britain's would be at the time. So it would have been way more than that.
Let's say it's like the state of Tennessee. I'd have to see the total population, but you're right. Yeah, it's a lot of people.
Yeah.
You're so right.
A ton of people. So smart. Thank you.
A ton of people were shipped off.
Yeah.
And so I'll get into descendants if we have time, but there are people, like famous people who have like great, 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 great grandmothers who were like
who?
A convict. Well, I want to first talk about the person on our bottle.
Okay.
So this bottle really, when I was picking which 19 Crimes bottle I wanted to bring home with me, this one stood out to me because his face is all scratched over.
Yeah.
None of the other ones that I saw were like that. And his name is James Wilson. And according to Wikipedia, he joined the British Army when he was 17 under a fake name because he was already avoiding arrest for the battery of a police officer. Now, he was an Irishman. He was born in Ireland, but he joined the British Army. And the reason why he went to Australia was because he was convicted of desertion and mutinous conduct while participating in the Fenian uprising. F-E-N-I-A-N.
Fenian.
Yes, Fenian. So if you are not sure what that is, like me, that's a rebellion against the British rule in Ireland. And desertion, if you are not sure, is in military services, just, they don't report for duty. He served in India, later joined the Irish Republican Brotherhood and deserted the British Army. And he was found hiding out in a safe house in Dublin with a friend. His sentence was originally death. But it got lifted, and then
for desertion.
Yep.
Wow.
Maybe it was worse because he was like evading the law.
Yeah, that's like Game of Thrones. Like you leave the wall.
Yeah, it is. Back to our roots.
Yeah.
But it was originally death, got lifted, and he was sent to Western Australia. Now, when he was there, he wrote a letter that's called "A Voice from the Tomb," that describes his times in the colony. And this letter actually offset this whole thing called the Catalapa Rescue. So he sent this letter to a journalist in New York whose name is John Devoy. And after hearing the conditions in this colony, they like got on a boat and sailed to Western Australia from New York.
Wow.
To go and get them. So according to Wikipedia, it set sail in 1876 and rescued Wilson and 5 other prisoners. Now, as
Just
far as
5?
Just 5.
Why?
Yeah.
Why even bother?
I know, it's so crazy. But the British Navy, they tried to stop this escape and bring the men back into custody. But after this escape ship fired at them one time and rose an American flag, they just gave up and let them sail away.
Nice.
So the journey took 4 months back to New York, and Wilson settled down in Rhode Island, where he lived out the rest of his life, married his wife, and died later on.
Cute.
Yeah. So that's our convict. What did you want to know about the famous people who have descendants?
I just want to know, like, if you had any specific famous people written down.
I do.
Right.
I have 3 of them.
Let's hear them.
And this is all according to BBC. So Kevin Rudd was the former former Australian Prime Minister.
Okay.
And his great grandmother was sentenced to hang for committing robbery at 11 years old.
Oh my God.
So her sentence, I don't know why I just laughed at just, being
It's
like,
just ridiculous.
I don't know how to react.
Yeah.
Yeah. Her sentence was reduced, and then she was shipped out to Australia on the second
Can you
fleet
imagine
ever.
reducing the sentence of 11-year-old from death to shipping you off to the desert?
Good luck. You gotta go work and be a wife.
Yeah. Have fun, sweetie.
So that's Kevin Rudd. Maggie Beer, who's a celebrity chef, her great-great-great-grandmother and grandfather met after her great-great-grandmother was sent to Australia for stealing and committing bigamy. So she's like 3 husbands, I guess, And then Jack Thompson, who's an actor, his great-great-great-grandfather was in transport from Ireland to Australia after being charged for highway robbery.
Cool.
And those are some famous people. I didn't know them even after looking at their pictures.
Yeah, I don't know any of those people.
But apparently they're famous. I don't know. I guess not
maybe famous in
enough.
Australia.
Yeah.
I'm not from Australia, so I wouldn't know.
Maybe we'll go visit one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should do
We'll
that.
meet
And we
them.
can look. There's like lots of museums and things.
There
I'm
is
sure.
some things to do in Australia. I don't know what they are.
We should go to a nude beach. That seems like a good thing to do
Yeah.
in Australia.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm just going to end on Australia today. I have 2 quick little notes. The whole thing about being a convict or related to a convict was like, it held a lot of stigma and shame in Australia, but it eventually turned into this national cause for celebration. Like, it is a huge thing. Like, you have pride in your family if you were related to one of the original convicts.
Right. It's like a coming here, like in this country, like your family was on the Mayflower. They're like,
Yeah.
yeah, my
I'm
dad
an
could,
OG.
right.
Don't talk to me. I'm famous.
I've got bigamy and what the fuck was stealing resin?
Yeah.
Stealing resin in the
Stealing
family.
anything.
Yeah.
And then there were just really a lot of positive things that happened after being transported to Australia. A lot of the people, I'm trying to find in my notes here, but it was something like most people were released after 5 years and then they just stayed in Australia.
Yeah, because if you were released, did they offer to ship you back or were you just stuck?
Nope, you're stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then 5 years, 85% of people were emancipated and then they could qualify for land grants. And a lot of people took advantage of that. Now I also want to
it sounds like kind of a good deal.
yeah. People took super advantage of the growing urban scene. They were importing goods, running pubs. And that's how a lot of people, so many that I didn't even take notes on it because I was like, this is too much to talk about. So many people became rich and successful.
Right.
After serving
at
their
the
time.
same time, people were choosing to come to America, but could also go to Australia and take money from those indigenous people. Hooray. Sorry.
So that's what happened. That's how the white man colonized. And it's not your Cinderella story for all, but
No. And we're so sorry.
yeah, still sorry.
Mhm.
Still sorry. 19 Crimes does have really good wine, though.
It does.
That's what I've got on Australia and colonization. Class dismissed.
Hayley, has anyone ever been a total dick to you?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Well, good news. Now, with Dicks by Mail, you can anonymously send them a box of candy dicks and politely tell them to eat one. Dicks by Mail sends dick-shaped candy anonymously to your friends, coworkers, grandma, whatever. Their products include gummy dicks, confetti dicks, and very realistic-looking chocolate dicks that come in both milk and white chocolate.
Oh my gosh. You know what? I can actually confirm they are very realistic-looking chocolate dicks. My best friend had one sent to her, and she was calling our whole friend group like, did you send this? Did you send this? She sent a picture in the group chat, like, and there are veins. Like, it is very realistic. I went over, ate some of her dick, you know, like best friends do. It's really quality chocolate too. And it's so fun, like the mystery of who it came from, and it's just such a funny product. It's great.
Right. It's meant to be a fun experience. Dicks by Mail was created to put a smile on people's faces. It's not meant to be a threat or a way to bully. If you're sending this with the intent to ruin someone's day, then maybe it's you who needs to eat a bag of dicks.
Probably. And if you want to eat a bag of dicks or put a smile on someone's face and a dick in their mouth, visit dicksbymail.com, dicksbymail.com, and enter the promo code NIGHTCLASSY, the name of this podcast, Night Classy, for 25% off of your first order. Go check it out now.
All right, we're back. So, as of when we've been recording this, Hayley and I just finished watching The Bachelor and watched the season finale this past week on Monday and Tuesday. So I kind of just want to talk about it a little bit.
Yes.
I'm going to start just by recapping the season. And Hayley, this is really short, so please chime in with your opinions.
Yeah.
Anytime you want.
Wait, we should preface this with who we are as Bachelor fans, I think. Or
Sure.
do you not care?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, this is my first season ever watching The Bachelor, the one with Peter. And you got me involved in this. I remember when we first met, you were watching The Bachelorette with Hannah Brown over the summer, and I just didn't really know or care what was going on.
Yeah.
But I got really invested, and it's been great.
Yeah, I've been a fan for about 5 years now. I haven't watched every season, but in all, I've probably watched about like 4 or 5 seasons of Bachelor, Bachelorette combined. So I haven't been a religious watcher, except for I watched the past season of The Bachelor, Colton season, the past season of The Bachelorette, Hannah Brown, and then this current season with Peter Weber.
Seems like you just listed off a lot. You're like, I haven't really watched that much, but I watched this, this, and that.
Well, they come out, so that's really just 9 months of Bachelor, Bachelorette, and I honestly fucking love Peter's season. I don't love Peter, but Peter Weber had a great season.
There were so many good memes that were born out of his season.
So many good memes. And quite frankly, if you say you watch The Bachelor to see true love, you're a fucking liar, and fuck you. You watch The Bachelor to see drama.
Yes.
And Peter had more drama than I've ever seen on this show.
I didn't really like the last 2 episodes because I felt like there wasn't that much drama. Like, I felt like there was a lot. Yeah, I was kind of bored a little bit. Like,
I feel like there
fine.
was so much drama. Like,
there was a lot of drama, but I really liked the petty drama. Like, this was very
so
emotional.
much petty drama.
It was
with
like
Barb.
emotionally connected drama.
Okay,
I just want drama for drama's sake.
I think we can assume that the majority of our listeners are stupid idiots and don't watch The Bachelor. Just kidding. You're not stupid idiots, but you should watch The Bachelor next time. I'm going to quickly recap what happened. And my segment isn't just a recap. I have other stuff to get to. So I'm going to do this fast.
Okay.
Basically, Peter Weber made terrible decisions the entire time, just was kind of ditzy, but it ended up being 2 women left over who I think were good choices for the last 2 women. It was Hannah Ann and this girl called Madison. And it was clear that Madison was his number one all along. He seemed to really love her. When he talked about her, he just lit up.
They connected and you could see it over camera, which I feel like is not easy to do.
Totally. Like, it was so clear that that Madison was his favorite. But Madison came with some baggage, for lack of a better word. She was super Christian and doesn't believe in premarital sex, holds herself to that standard, which is, I don't want anyone to think I'm bashing her beliefs, because I'm absolutely not. But the issue was she waited until the last minute to tell Peter about this, and then gave him an ultimatum, which was that if he slept with the other women in the fantasy suites, she would have a hard time staying. And she waited a long time to tell him that, and then told him that. And I mean, the fantasy suites are basically like
sexy time.
Sex is expected. It's sexy time. And he ended up sleeping with the other 2 women because, like he said, which is fair, he's not just in a relationship with Madison. He's in a relationship with 2 other women besides her. The other one was called Victoria F. I'm just not even going to talk about her because it's a whole nother bag of worms.
Right.
But he did sleep with the other 2 women, told Madison. She was understandably upset because she did tell him that she was going to leave if he did that. And at first it didn't seem like she was going to. She met his family. And after she met his family, his mom like got super weird about it and like was just like raving about Hannah Ann and like telling him that like Madison would be a big mistake. And there was this like huge sob scene where she was like, bring her home, like sobbing,
And
talking
they
about Hannah
referenced
Ann.
that. They referenced that bring her home from like the first episode,
Right.
and we're like the whole season we're waiting to figure out who is she talking about.
Yeah, it was in all the trailers, and everyone assumed she was talking about Madison, like that she loved Madison, because the whole season Madison was kind of the sweetheart. I love Madison. Everyone loved Madison. And then Hannah Ann, not Hannah Brown. Hannah Ann she's pretty quiet. Like, she's gorgeous. She's laid back, like seemed really nice, but you never really got to see her personality shine. So she kind of flew under the radar until the last couple episodes. So no one thought she was talking about Hannah Ann, but it turns out she was, because Hannah Ann really turned on the charm for Peter's family. Like, it was clear how much she loved him. She was so sweet to his family, and his parents just fell in love with her, and then didn't really believe that Madison would have been a good choice because she had a different lifestyle than Peter. Peter's kind of a party guy. He obviously has premarital sex, and that just doesn't match up with Madison's values. So
That's fair. It can be really hard to merge lifestyles and beliefs and values. I think the number one thing is like the values in it.
They had different values, and that doesn't make either values right or wrong. They just weren't necessarily compatible.
Yes.
And his parents saw that, and his mom took it to the next level, being a little dramatic. But she was right, I think. And it culminated in this big dramatic scene in the finale where they basically do like a live talk show about it. And they revealed that Peter and Hannah Ann had broken up about a month after their engagement, because they got engaged on the show. And Madison had ended up leaving like before he proposed to Hannah Ann, and he chose not to tell Hannah Ann that she had left. And you would think that if you were in love with Hannah Ann and we're going to propose to her anyway, you would tell her like, great, it's just the 2 of us now. But up until the very last minute, even after Madison had left, he was telling her that his heart was torn between 2 people and he was having a hard time with this.
Yeah, and that was truthful, and it was, but he was also not being truthful about her having left in the situation at large.
Right, it was very misleading, and you just kind of got the feeling, and Hannah Ann vocalized this in the finale, that he didn't tell her because he didn't want her to leave, and because she was the second choice. That's just the reality of how it goes, and he kept her around because he didn't want to be left alone with no choices. He proposed to her even though he knew he was still in love with Madison. And then they ended up breaking up a month after their quote unquote engagement. And it sucked for Hannah Ann, and him and Madison ended up like getting together, I guess. Like, they on the show, like on the live version of the show, they said they were going to give it a chance. Peter's mom like rolled her eyes a whole bunch and said she thought that was a stupid idea, which I kind of agree with. And then as of today, March 13th, like less than 5 days after that aired, they are broken up. So, I mean, Deborah, is that her name?
She was right.
She was right.
Yeah. No, Barbara.
Barbara, thank you. Barb knew what she was talking about. I'm looking at it right now in my notes. I thought I could go off book, and I guess I can't.
Yeah, this 19 Crimes wine got us good. Shout out.
Shout out 19 Crimes. So anyway, there was a whole lot of drama, a whole lot of BS, and so that just kind of left me wanting more. So I was just kind of curious about what it's like to be a contestant on The Bachelor behind the scenes. And I just want to be clear, I'm not considering going on The Bachelor or trying out.
You liar. You said you were going to do it.
I know.
You said it.
I mean, if I were going to do it, it would be to promote Night Classy, but
We're doing just fine.
We're doing just fine. And Alex has already been left by 2 different girls who went on dating shows. One of them was on The Bachelor, and I can't do that to him again.
Sorry, I laughed so hard.
Sorry, Alec. That's really upsetting. He just wiped away a fake tear.
Yeah. 2 of them.
2 of them. Okay. I hope he's recovered by now. He's
doing great.
He's doing so good. Well, anyway, this is going to be light and short, but I got most of my information. I got some of it from menshealth.com, some from bachelornation.com, and then the rest from the ashleyrealityroundup.com. So basically, I want to go over casting requirements really quickly. They're pretty standard. So the website says you have to be at least 21 years old, a United States resident, permanent resident, or foreign citizen who can travel without restrictions. There are a lot of Canadians on the show, so it makes sense. You and your family cannot be associated with certain production companies, including Warner Brothers and Walt Disney. You can't be on other reality TV shows. Basically, it gives a list which includes Survivor, Big Brother, American Idol, Amazing Race, The Apprentice. I think they want their contestants to seem like real people and not actors on reality TV, essentially.
Did you know that, Love is Blind?
Yeah.
Carlton, he was assistant on The Real Housewives.
Really?
Yeah, he was.
Wait, which one? Is Carlton the bi guy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. I don't know which Real Housewives it was. I think it was is New York one of them or something?
Yeah, New York is one of them.
I think that was it. Or
is
something.
New York or Long Island? Maybe both.
Let me search. It doesn't matter, but yeah.
I do have a passion for reality TV, but I haven't seen a ton. I've seen Real Housewives of Orange County and then Long Island.
I haven't ever seen it. Oh, it looks like it was Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. That he was like an assistant or something on. I think. I don't know. That might be wrong. But I know
Long Island definitely isn't real. I don't know why I was saying Long Island. I think it's New York, and then some of them are from Long Island. I could be totally wrong. My mom watches it. I don't really watch it. I don't know. Whatever. Who cares?
We don't know.
It
was Real Housewives of Atlanta, which is where he lives, which makes sense. He was an assistant for Cynthia Bailey.
So that wouldn't fly on The Bachelor, but plug for Love is Blind. Great show. Please watch it.
Great.
Anyway, you also can't be running for office or have a felony. And
can you imagine the president of the United States promoting themselves on The Bachelor?
Yeah, you're running for governor and you get publicity by going on The Bachelor.
Yeah.
Honestly, not a bad strategy.
You get a note from The Bachelor and it's meet me here for our one-on-one. And it's actually I have to be at the polls. Go to this website to vote. Right. To register to vote in your state.
Yeah, I wonder why that has to be an explicit
I wonder if people
requirement. Yeah, maybe. But basically, I think the bottom line is they don't want you promoting anything else while you're on the show. And that kind of makes sense why a lot of people on the show have businesses or are musicians or whatever you are, and they can't promote it explicitly. But obviously the show does give you a lot of Instagram followers and can help you with your business. Mm-hmm. And then the final requirement that I have is you have to be single, which is not always the case, but at least you have to present yourself that way to the producers.
Yeah.
And so following that, you have to apply. So once you meet all the requirements, you can apply. And you can either be nominated for the show. So you can nominate your friend without her even knowing.
That's weird.
I'm going to do that to you. But anyway.
Do it. Let's see if I get on.
That'd be interesting. Maybe I will. But you can apply yourself. And there are some questions on the application. And I list out some questions. So one of them is how many serious relationships have you been in and how long were they? List 3 adjectives that would surprise people about you, which just seems like the dumbest thing in the world.
That's so dumb.
What?
If you don't know someone and you're just a producer, whoever weeds through these things, how are you going to be surprised to know
by
something?
An adjective, maybe a fact, but an adjective,
I am a living thing. Okay, living, number 1. Number 2.
Thoughtful. That surprises some people. I seem really not thoughtful. I don't know.
Give us y'all's 3 adjectives real quick.
Oh my God. The thing is that's so hard because I feel like any adjective that would describe me, other people would also describe me with that.
Why is that a problem?
Because it says 3 adjectives that would surprise people about you. So like any adjective that comes to my mind to describe me, other people would think that too, I think.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah, if it's who you are.
Maybe it's surprise kind of new audience, people seeing you on TV.
Okay. So I thought about, so when I put this list in here, I thought about being like, Hayley, like if you were auditioning for The Bachelor, I'm going to ask you some questions and just put you on the spot with some questions. And then I decided against it because I didn't want to be mean. And now Alec was just a huge mean person with that.
It's so funny. I don't know things about myself. Like when people ask things like that, I'm like, what is my favorite movie?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was just trying to get the audience to get to know you guys better.
I mean, my adjectives, I'm ambitious. I'm not very nice. And I'm introverted.
I think the last 2 would be surprising.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I don't even know what mine would be that would surprise people.
So,
you know what? I do like control.
Okay.
Controlling might be
controlling.
But I don't feel like I'm controlling.
Right. Maybe you're not controlling of other people, but you like to be in control.
Yes, I do like to be in control, and that might be surprising.
So dominant?
I feel like I don't want to be dominant. I don't want to be in charge of like a bunch of other people. Like I do like being a leader and showing people a way.
Yeah, you're a leader.
I like having control, but I don't want to have control necessarily of other people. It just feels good when I have control over like a situation. It makes me feel calm, but I feel like I've gotten good at not being crazy about it. So that might be surprising to people.
And I don't know, I feel like the 2 of us are so similar on the surface, but we're opposite people at heart.
Completely opposite people. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Because at first, like when we met, it was like, wow, like we are really alike, but like we have the perfect like balance.
Yeah.
I really think like we get along because we're similar at the surface level, like you said, but stark differences.
So anyway, the next question is, what have you not found but would like to have in a relationship? Do you have any specific talents? Tell us. What accomplishment are you most proud of? 90% of the contestants, it's getting signed by a modeling agency or being Miss, name the state. Describe your ultimate fantasy date! !
Ooh, what would your be? What would your be?
Oh my God. I don't know. I've never thought about my fantasy date in my life.
I've thought about one of like an icebreaker questions that I've participated in is like, what would be your perfect day? And I think my perfect day would kind of like, I could incorporate that into a perfect date.
Okay.
I don't know. It just starts with breakfast and coffee and then maybe reading, spending time outside.
Yeah.
Quick little hot air balloon ride. And then
easy.
And then I don't know, maybe take a swim, go to a nice late dinner.
Cool.
In bed by 10:30.
That sounds like a good date. And where would you go and who would you meet? Who are you are you genuinely looking to get married and why? Why would you want to find your spouse on a TV show? Do you have any tattoos? If yes, where are they?
Interesting that they ask that.
I also think it's funny. I copy and pasted this directly, and it says, where are they? Not what are they?
Which oh yeah, we don't care if it's 666.
Yeah,
just if it's on your forehead,
as long
that's a
as
no-go.
you can hide it with your bikini, we're kosher. And then those are all the questions I have. I'm assuming it changes from season to season what they have on there, but those are the samples I found online. And then
the upcoming for the Bachelorette is, do you have coronavirus?
That's funny you mention it because they do, like, once you make it through the like initial stage of applications, you have to get a physical and psychological test. And they test for STDs, of course. And then I'm sure they also test for things like coronavirus, like anything that you can pass like that.
What if you just didn't have health insurance and then you tried out for the show and like we're just hoping to get on so you could get a nice little physical and checkup?
Seems like a lot of effort to go through for a
mean,
physical, but we do live in America,
right.
So vote for Bernie. Anyway, and then so those are all the questions I had, and ABC encourages you to send a video in addition to your application because it's quote unquote like the best way to get to know you, which is really the best way for them to see if you're hot or not. I'm assuming you also have to send a headshot, but video is probably more telling than a headshot. It makes me think of in Legally Blonde when she sends like her like pool video to Harvard.
Yeah, they want to hear your voice. They want to see your face.
Yeah,
they want. They just want to see.
They want to see.
They want to see
you on camera. Makes sense. And then if you don't want to do all this, you could just attend an open casting call, which I know people that have done that. It's an interesting experience, I'm sure. And basically they say just like bring your best self forward, be honest. A lot of websites encourage you to have a few drinks before to loosen up. I mean, you're going to be drunk the whole show anyway, so you may as well be drunk at your audition. And it says to dress like you're going on a date. So those are my tips.
All right, well, nominate me and let's see what happens, just for an insider scoop.
For sure. It'd be interesting. And basically after you're selected as a finalist, not much is known because they sign confidentiality agreements, and so speculate wildly what you think after that.
I wonder when they have to give up their cell phones. Like, where do their cell phones
you give up your cell phone and your computer the day you enter your living situation.
Okay.
So you give that all up after you've like officially been cast and have been flown to the Bachelor Mansion, all that good stuff. And then the rest of my information comes from an article on The Ashley where they interviewed a few different former contestants. So the gist of it is many people quit their jobs. You don't get paid at all to be on The Bachelor or The Bachelorette unless you are the Bachelor or Bachelorette. You have to bring all your own clothes. You're not even provided with dresses for the rose ceremonies.
That's so crazy to me, bringing your own clothes. Like, that's what I cannot fathom.
Also, when they leave, it looks like they just have one suitcase, but a lot of girls are saying like, oh, I brought like 23 gowns for the rose ceremonies. So I think that when they take their suitcases away, that's just for like the shot, and they probably have like 6 giant suitcases.
I don't even have that many suitcases. I'd be rolling up in trash bags.
Right. I mean, like the first episode of Jersey Shore when who's the trashy one that came in, like she was only on the show for like a couple seasons, but she came with trash bags. Okay, never mind. I'm too into reality TV, but
you just relate everything from now on that you hear. Like your response is like that time in this reality TV show and blah, 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 blah.
I don't understand how that's any different than what I already do, but okay. So also hair and makeup are offered for the first couple rose ceremonies. Most girls just do their own though. Chris Harrison knows who's getting sent home before the rose ceremony, which I feel like obviously like they have to tell him.
It didn't seem like it this season because I remember Peter saying during one of them being like, I didn't even know who I was gonna pick.
That's just editing.
I know. But
he's sitting there in front of the camera
real.
pretending.
Reality TV, it's all real.
It's all real. That's what I'm trying to debunk right now, actually. So.
Don't believe her. She's a liar.
So one of the questions asked in this interview was, what are rose ceremonies like and how long do they last? And basically, so before the rose ceremony, when the Bachelor or Bachelorette hands out the roses to who, and like everyone who gets a rose stays on the show. If you don't get a rose, you get sent home. And they start with a cocktail party, which is you're just sitting around waiting to talk to the Bachelor or Bachelorette and
listening
get your moment.
With a drink.
Yes, we'll get into that. So this interviewee says cocktail parties are really horrible. You sit there for hours trying not to mess up your hair or makeup, and you're full of nerves. And there's also tons of booze around. So you're sitting there stressed out, trying not to screw anything up. And you're like constantly, like the producers, she said, like run around and shove alcohol in your face and try to get you to drink it and ask you questions and like try to get you to say certain things on camera. So it's like basically just like designed to make you go crazy and get drunk and spill your guts. And also that's where like a lot of the drama between the girls comes from, is you're sitting there, and she said that's filmed from sunset to sunrise. So they keep you up all night, ply you with alcohol. You're stressed out because you're on TV and trying to talk to this person, trying not to get sent home, and you're just wasted. So you're gonna fight like we've seen many times. Honestly,
Yeah,
I'm surprised
that's
there's
just a
not
recipe.
more drama than there already
I
is.
know, that's crazy knowing that now.
And yeah, it's basically just a recipe to get you to act as crazy as possible.
I remember in this season, Tammy was one of the contestants and she seemed like a really sane person. And then like 4 episodes in, she started to turn like, I felt like she was that girl in high school who was super shy for a long time. And then the like quote unquote popular girls got their claws in her and she just like turned.
That's such a good analogy. Because yeah, Tammy was my favorite. I'm like, she seems so cool, so real. And then she like went like started to be like kind of a bitch. But honestly, I feel like that's even more real because I'd be a huge bitch in that situation. Like some of those girls, McKenna, were fucking annoying and I would have been rude to them too.
Your evolutionary instincts come out and you want to kill the annoying ones and the ones who are competing with you. Yeah. Which is like all of them.
Totally. Yeah, pretty much all of the people on that show. The show is not scripted, but obviously it is heavily edited. Being in the house apparently is really boring. You can't leave under any circumstance. Like you're in a cool new city. You cannot sightsee. There's no internet. You cannot talk to friends or family. And there's not even a gym.
What?
So, you really, at least on the person who was being interviewed, there wasn't a gym on her season. So like they couldn't really work out. And to me, that kind of like, it makes sense why you would get so attached to whoever is the Bachelor or Bachelorette, because they're your only ticket out of that house and you kind of get Stockholm syndrome, I feel like, in my opinion. And then also why they get into so many petty fights. There's nothing to do but talk to the other girls and drink alcohol, and that breeds drama.
And it's so funny because so many times they were like, you're an alcoholic. Like so many girls got called an alcoholic. But if I were there, that would probably be
I'd be an alcoholic too. Why wouldn't you be? You have literally nothing to do but sit by the pool.
Let's get drunk. It happens. We're like, I'm so bored. Let's get drunk and start a podcast.
Same. We're so bored. We're quarantined. The last thing I have is they were asked, like, are most people like actually on the show for love? And
ooh, the burning question.
The burning question. And to me, it's like, obviously fucking not. So, and this person was very tactful and exaggerated a little bit and said, about half people are on the show for love and half the people are there for other reasons. And to me, that's very generous, because my feeling is if you're there for love, or if you're actually looking for love, you have a way better chance doing pretty much anything but The Bachelor. Like, even if you do fall in love with The Bachelor and do make it to the finale, it's such a stressful situation and you have to rebuild so much trust after them dating a bunch of other people that like that's enough to destroy you as is. And the paparazzi and dealing with the public, and also like there's only one Bachelor in Bachelor history that's still married to the person they gave the final rose to.
I stalked his Instagram. I don't remember his name.
I watched his season
on Netflix.
It's Sean
right?
and Catherine. No, he doesn't count because he married his runner-up.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah, but Sean and Catherine are still married, and I watched their season, and they're the only ones.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I'm not.
I mean, it's just not, it's a show all there for drama. It's not there for finding your spouse.
What I want to know is the timeline, because to me, obviously they got to see a glimpse of Peter in Hannah Brown's season when he was one of the contestants for The Bachelorette. Mm-hmm. And maybe they found some things about him appealing and then applied for this.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess they get to see who's going to be the Bachelor, Bachelorette before they're actually on.
Yeah.
But just like blindly signing up for this show would be crazy. Like, to think that, like, if you even have a chance.
I think a lot of people who sign up for this show are young people who maybe don't have a lot going for them, and this is a career move. And fair enough. And one person interviewed in this, he was on The Bachelorette, And he said, quote, "My favorite part of being on The Bachelorette was being treated famous for a while. I got tons of attention from all these nice people from the show. They flew me across the country. They gave me free food and drinks. They hooked me up with a lot of cool clothes, shoes, luggage, sunglasses. I got picked up by limos, and I had TV cameras following me everywhere." So I think for a lot of people, it's just like a vacation and an experience, and it's something fun to do. And if you have the means to do it, why not?
Right. Yeah. Well, let's see how long school's canceled. Let's see if I get in, and we'll keep you updated.
Yeah, we will keep you guys updated. Thank you so much for tuning in. And 3, 2, 1, class dismissed.
That was so good.